Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in this video, I'm be doing an example of a random variables problem in probability. The probability mass function of a random variable x is given by p to the I is equal to c lambda to the I over I factorial, where I is equal to 0, 1, 2, etc., where lambda is some positive value. Find p x to the 0 and p is x is greater than 1. This is an example of a random variables. This is a discrete random variable since it can take on at most a countable number of possible values. Since the probabilities have to add up to 1, we know that, let me write it down, the sum of I is equal to 0 to infinity p of I, which is just this random variable, probability mass function, is equal to I. So we need to find C. Let me just take out a C here. Rewrite this again. I'm just now plugging in wherever the probability mass function is. Lambda I over I factorial is equal to 1. Since e to the x is equal to the sum of I is equal to 0 to infinity of x to the I, or I factorial. In other words, let me plug in x to the 0 over 0 factorial. The numerator would just be 1, and the denominator would just be 1 as well. This implies that c to the e lambda is equal to 1. Solving for c, we could just divide both sides by e to the lambda. We get c is equal to 1 over e to the lambda, or e to the negative lambda. So we figured out what c is. Now we can find out what px is equal to 0 is. Let me write this down here. Let me just plug in 0 here. So it'll just be e to the negative lambda times lambda to the 0 over 0 factorial. Doing simplification, lambda to the 0 is just 1. 0 factorial is obviously 1. So this would be e to the negative lambda for probability of x is equal to 0. Now we need to figure out what the probability of x is greater than 1. So let me write this over here. And basically it's just when you have a probability as x is greater than 1, it's just 1 minus the probability of x, which is less than or equal to 1. In other words, it's just 1 minus the probability of x is equal to 0, which is just this function over here, we figured out. So really it's just 1 minus e to the negative lambda. So the probability of x is equal to 0 is e to the negative lambda, and the probability that x is greater than 1 is 1 minus e to the negative lambda. And this is an example of a random variables problem in probability.